Let's go to South Africa, where President Cyril Ramaphosa will soon find himself fielding questions from Parliament. The Standing Committee on Public Accounts met today to discuss a controversial request to investigate Ramaphosa concerning graft allegations. The ruling ANC has since suspended the MP for submitting the letter to Parliament. In the meantime, Ramaphosa has released a much-anticipated report on COVID-19 graft allegations being investigated by the country's Special Investigation Unit. To unpack these stories further, South African journalist and editor Diane Hawker is joining me now. Good to see you, Diane, and thanks for your time. Now, let's start in Parliament. The Public Accounts Committee met today to discuss whether to investigate Ramaphosa. So how did they get there?
Well, it was quite an interesting session to witness because it took about 2 hours to get to a final decision on what they were going to do. And the whole situation actually started with a recording that surfaced a few weeks ago, in which the president was said to be speaking in an ANC National Executive Committee meeting. So this was an internal party meeting. But in that meeting, he appeared to be suggesting that he was aware that public funds were being used for the purposes of the party. And he also seemed to be saying that South Africans shouldn't be made aware of this. The reason that this is controversial, obviously, is because public funds shouldn't be used for party political purposes, but also because there's some recent legislation that was put in place that is actually supposed to make sure that parties declare all the funds that come to the party as donations. So that's all political parties in the country. And if Ramaphosa was actually saying what was kind of indicated by this 2-minute clip, then that would suggest that he was trying to go against that new legislation, but also was trying to pull the wool over the nation's eyes. The problem with the clip is that it's not exactly clear what the context of the discussion is. You can tell that it's part of a broader discussion, but the full information of the discussion, wasn't made public. And that's how the whole issue kind of ended up coming before SCOPA, because then one of the ANC members of parliament actually said that there was a need to investigate this further.
And the member of parliament who submitted the letter is in some hot water of his own. So what's happening with Marvin Dirks?
Well, this is also quite an interesting thing because the ANC has previously said that it is, open to accountability within the party. But when Marvin Dirks submitted this letter to Parliament saying that Parliament should investigate it, he was actually chastised by the chief whip of the ANC in Parliament. And then also he was suspended as a member of the Standing Committee of Accounts, which is quite an important committee in Parliament. It deals with all kind of major financial and government spending investigations that take place in Parliament. He remains suspended, as we heard today, although he was allowed to give a presentation to the committee before it had its meeting, or at the beginning of that meeting, in which he actually explained why he felt it was necessary to submit this letter for SCOPA to investigate President Ramaphosa.
Well, these allegations of wrongdoing have been following President Ramaphosa since his campaign to win the ANC presidency in 2016. So what is the difference, in all of these allegations this time around?
Well, the interesting aspect is that this year is once again an elective year, an elective conference year for the ANC. And there have been a number of allegations surfacing since that 2016 election, indicating that President Ramaphosa received funds from members of the public as well as from people who do business with government in a manner that he was not supposed to. And these allegations have actually been made by members of the ANC themselves. The thing that makes this difference, of course, is that there is this audio recording which Ramaphosa will have to answer to. And that in the audio recording, he appears to be talking about public funds. And there is a question about why he was saying in the recording that, the public shouldn't be made aware of what is going on with public funds as it relates to the ruling party. And this is part of what Parliament has said that he should answer to. They've given him, they will give him between 7 and 10 days from the point of them writing their letter for him to respond. And they're also going to ask the State Security Department and the Auditor General to also weigh in on these allegations. So they definitely seem to be more serious than people just talking generally about campaign funding.
Before I let you go, Ramaphosa has also released a report by the Special Investigating Unit detailing COVID-19 related corruption. Tell us more about this.
Yes, absolutely. So the SIU has been investigating corruption relating to personal protective equipment, so PPE, and that would be the kind of equipment that we saw often used at the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic, such as those, one-piece outfits that were worn by ambulance staff and also by people conducting cleaning at government buildings. And what has become apparent is that there was a lot of misspending when it came to PPE spending. The SIU investigated 5,467 contracts, and that actually amounts to something like 14.3 billion South African rand. Not all of those contracts are problematic, but there is a significant number that they have asked the NPA, the National Prosecuting Authority, to take further, and others that they have found administratively questionable, where, for example, the correct process was not followed, or companies that didn't actually have the correct, qualifications were selling this kind of PPE, because it seemed like it ended up being a free-for-all, even for people who are not in the cleaning business, to start selling PPE. So it's likely that there will be some prosecutions coming out of that report. It's a 700-page document, as well as also potentially the asset forfeiture unit getting some of those funds back. And that's one of the law enforcement bodies that's available in South Africa to actually get money that was obtained through corrupt purposes back into state coffers.
Diane Hawke, many thanks for your time.
Thank you.